Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, breathe it in.
Get it in.
Breathe it in.
Let me just make sure we're all good. We're all good.
All good. All good.
We're all good. Hi, Dan.
And it's Tyler
From
Mason Productions.
Boom. We're back.
We're back. Well, I'm back, yeah.
It has been a while since we uploaded a podcast. I think it's been like 2 or 3 weeks. I hold my hands up. I didn't want to keep on doing solo ones and just trying to cram stuff in. I wanted to wait for the stuff that we've had planned to actually take fruition.
It doesn't really feel like a podcast with just a solo little kind of. It just feels like you're. What's it called?
Just chatting.
No. The vlog. Just feels
I just feel like I'm vlogging. So we're back with the 3-cam setup. Last of not being a 3-cam setup, but we're back.
Bit better lighting. We're actually using the studio lighting that we used for our recent prom activity, which is probably why the lighting's a little better than it was last time we recorded. Do you wanna start with what the topic is? Yep. As you guys know, before I start, I've been away on holiday. Went to meet up with my lovely girlfriend. But now I'm back, ready to record some stuff. And today's podcast, it's more or less awareness, but it's in a general topic. We're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to kind of give insights to mine and Dan's mental health and how we've struggled leading up to the starting of the business, because we both had our own internal battles, if you will, and things like that. And then we'll have a brief talk about like how mental health is portrayed in like society and things. And
this one might be a bit of a long one, but we may cut it short and do like split it into different subsections. I think we said so. Yeah,
just depends how long we ramble on each topic part of it.
Yeah. So I think before we start, anything that we say is said from our own experiences and our own opinions. Please don't take what we say as gospel.
Yeah.
On the topics that we talk about, we will add in a helpline number.
Yeah.
So that you guys can, if you're in a moment of crisis, you guys can go and seek help. So, and I think most importantly, I want to say that if you are going through anything, please reach out, please speak to someone. Even if it is us, our Instagrams are always open.
Yeah.
And speak to your loved ones. Like what Paddy said, Paddy the baddie. I'd rather have my friend crying on my shoulder than going to his funeral a week later. I want to just reiterate that. So, please reach out, and if there is anything that we can help, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Yeah, well said.
It's really annoying because I've just realised that the camera's not straight.
Well, you can correct that though.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Just in case you're wondering if we record raw, like this is as raw as you can get.
There you go. That's better. Sorry. Come and sit back down. And I'm
back in the room.
So I think it's probably only fair talk about our own experiences first.
Yeah. I mean, we won't have to go completely in depth, but
only talk about what you feel comfortable.
So we'll give like an overview of what we've probably suffered with in the past. Me personally, I've suffered a lot with anxiety, problems like that. It's affected me a lot during my school years and things like that. I had quite bad social anxiety, trying to mingle in with people. I felt more of an outcast a lot of the time, like I never really fit in with things. And it was a weird kind of dynamic for me because like a lot of the things that people would go enjoy in hanging out together, I just found it really stressful. I was constantly like thinking about things and how I should be talking like this or I should be saying this. I mean,
or I should look like.
Oh yeah, because I think in school you have that norm or that kind of standard that people try and keep up to be as cool as everyone else. Absolute bullshit. It shouldn't be like that at all. But that's how it is for when you're a kid, especially. I've also suffered with minor depression before. Nothing Nothing, thankfully, serious wise in my time, but it's definitely. I've definitely had low points. I've definitely had times where I've been stuck in bed for longer than I'd ever want to admit, and things like that. But it's one of those things, isn't it? I think it's where it's not spoke upon quite as much. It's like we've said before, like the happiest person could be the person when they go home. No one knows that people are looking at them. They let their true self out, and I think
they're like what's Robin Williams.
Yeah, exactly. And
Exactly.
What was? Oh, the name will come to me in a second. But there's a lot of. But anyway, I'll finish where I was going. Those are the general type of things I've suffered with throughout school. Generally, they stem as well from insecurities and other mental health things like that, like my own body image. And I've always been quite a skinny, like lean guy compared to a lot of my friends who I hung out with in school and things like that. So in terms of social norms and trying to be that type of figure that people like and things like that, being the skinnier type of guy, I look less intimidating. I'm easy to fool around with, which is why I developed things like that, because I was bullied a bit throughout my school life. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic talking about things like this. It feels like I'm asking for pity or something.
Yeah,
you know what I
weird.
mean. You can't help but have that in the back of your head. But yeah, it's one of those things. For how it's impacted my time up to the business, just things like struggling to kind of have social events and trying to avoid things like that. Things like
Yeah, and I think as a friend, I think seeing you like not motivated, not wanting to do anything, not turning up to things, always thinking the worst of situations. Like, oh, we're going out for a couple of beers. Do you want to come? And you will think of like, I don't have these clothes, and I haven't seen these people in ages, and then you would actually then spiral and then not go. And there's been a handful of times where like I've just turned up and I'm like, right, get trained, let's go.
Absolutely. There were times where I wasn't working and I wasn't in a good spot. I couldn't really afford a lot of the things I wanted to, that I knew the friends and that had when we were going out. And for me, it got to a point where my mental health got really such a bad balance of anxiety and depression that it was basically a combination of not having the social energy to hang and talk with people, because I found it so stressful and so hard to mingle because I was such an introvert. And as well as that, there was the kind of stress and anxiety of like, soon as it, like Dan said, the simplest thing of just going out for a couple of beers that he would just think is completely fine, I would be thinking of who would be there, who I'd have to talk to, what topics. It would spiral into this overthinking kind of rabbit race in circles until I pretty much push myself out of the idea, and I'll come up with an excuse not to go, or because most of the time there wasn't an excuse, it was just my mental health wasn't there at all. But I am thankful that Dan pushed me to some of the things, because they did turn out to be a lot better than I actually thought they were going to, obviously. But that's the type of thing with mental health, isn't it? You never see that side of it. You just kind of see, wow, no, I can't do this.
No, yeah.
And it did result in like you kind of form your own bubble around yourself, because that's kind of where you feel safe.
Your human mind protects you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, these four walls or this house is my safe bubble. Nothing bad can happen to me here. If I stay here, I can be safe. Nobody can touch me. Nobody can hurt me.
There's no risk of anything. And when it gets to that point where you're kind of trying to save yourself, you kind of feel like, this is where I have to be. Anywhere else could result this, and it just carries on no matter what.
I think for both of us now, we sort of live by a weird motto of, if you don't feel uncomfortable, then you're not doing the right things. We sort of, like with the proms and things like that, we put ourselves in uncomfortable positions because that is when you find out who you truly are. And we keep on doing it now. Like, time after time, we've kept on doing it. Like, I hope Tyler won't mind me saying, but like even with, and if you do, just tell me to cut it. With the proms, we got booked for one, and then we got asked to do another one. I thought, oh, brilliant, we've got Tyler. And speaking to Tyler, I could tell that he wasn't confident in his ability, even though that your ability is so good. And it took a bit of convincing to get there, even of the week of and the night of. You were stressing, but as soon as you took that first photo, boom, everything went away, and you was showing off your skills. You was creating moments for people. You were telling them how to stand, how to do this, and your photos turned out really well. Everybody said how well you did. Me and Sarah now know that we can trust you to go off and do other events. But ultimately, you had that anxiety of that building up inside you up until the event, and then at the end of it, you was like, that wasn't as bad as what I thought. It was really good. I took some really good photos. I've enjoyed the whole experience.
It's one of those things that, I mean, I've come on leaps and bounds what I used to be like with my mental health in terms of especially anxiety. But that's the thing, when you suffer from them, they never truly leave.
No, I think it's
I mean, anxiety is a natural thing anyway. I think everyone experiences it in some form.
I was going to say this, but I didn't want it to come across as like a thing. Being anxious about a few things doesn't mean that you have anxiety.
Oh, no.
So children of today, and I don't mean this to be harsh, feeling anxious and feeling pressure from exams doesn't mean that you have anxiety. Having pressure and having some form of anxiety about something is good. Normally means that you're going to push yourself.
Yeah.
It's when it turns into you can't leave the house and things is when it starts becoming a problem. So please, guys, don't diagnose yourself and don't turn everyday problems into and it may start from them, but please don't think that you guys have got anxiety because you feel anxious about exams. It's good to feel anxious about exams because they are important. Not as important as what teachers make out, but they are important. And if you're anxious about meeting a girl or meeting a boy, they are good feelings to have. It means that you normally perform or something. Don't turn everyday emotions into mental health, but they do stem from normal things.
Absolutely. I think with a lack of knowledge of things, it's very easy to, because anxiety is a natural everyday. There isn't one person on this earth that hasn't been anxious about something or at least felt anxiety.
And maybe another word for anxiety is nervousness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feeling nervous about something can be sort of a very similar feeling to feeling anxious. Anxious, nervousness, they're very similar.
Yeah, like I said, there's different levels of it. There's a healthy amount of anxiety, and then when it becomes a disorder is when you physically are unable to control things. Like just going to social events, you start getting sweaty palms, you're shaking, you can't speak properly. And then that's when you have like extreme form. You have like anxiety and panic attacks, all just from little things like meeting a friend, and there's different extremes of it. And obviously, me and Dan, we can't speak for everything because we're basing this, like we said, off our own experiences. I'm sure there's people out there that have suffered it within a whole different dynamic than we have. But like I said, and it's one of them things. Like I was saying, anxiety for me is never truly left. It's more of you learn to cope with it in your own way.
You have cope mechanisms that stop you from spiraling, don't you?
Yeah.
So we'll touch more on maybe in depth later, and we'll talk about my things shortly.
Yes.
But the thing that I want to ask you, what helped you overcome because your main thing was anxiety.
Yeah.
The depression came from being anxious.
I
think the depression came from you not being able to do things because of your anxiety. As soon as you started doing things, your sort of depression became less of a thing.
Yeah, it got to the point where my anxiety, I forgot what the name it's called now. It's like high functioning anxiety, where it controls your thought, like what you do in every day. And it got to that point where, because I was seeing everyone doing this, doing that, I was falling so far behind. And I felt myself enclosed in this bubble alone. Although I wasn't alone. I know I know now I had people. I've always had you and things like that. But you feel alone and by yourself. And that's what brought on those episodes of depression where I was pretty much not only scared of doing stuff, I was just sad. And then that's where it led to just your energy was just low.
Yeah.
I stopped really feeling much. I was pretty much sat playing games. Games was that created my escape for me, because I was stuck in the house, and it gave me that release. Like many people, it takes away the reality, so you can time to breathe and things like that.
Do you remember the steps that you took? Do you remember a specific day? What was it that made you just all of a sudden go, no, I'm not letting this control me anymore? Was it the fact that, I know there was a couple of times where me and you had arranged nights out, and we started doing nights out when we was like 18, and we still did normal things like went to the beach and Sandringham and things like that. Can you remember that night at Sandringham with everybody?
Yeah.
So was it just, I am going to do these things, or what was your thought process? Is there a specific day where you snapped and you're like, right, this is the moment that I'm changing?
I don't think specifically there was. It was because I've had to grow up quite fast because of the lifestyle and the situation with my parents. And
quickly, just putting in, this is going to be a topic that we actually delve into.
Yeah.
We're going to have a relationship and an upbringing, because even though that our upbringings were actually pretty good. We can't shit on them. I'm not saying that my parents have been really good to me and still are. Your parents are really still good to you, but I think there's things that have come from our parents that have impacted us and the people that we are. So that is a thing that we will touch on in another episode. It's just we don't want to cram everything into one thing. So this is going to be solely about mental health. So you'll hear us touch things on about our parents and our upbringings, but we will touch on it on another episode. But Tyler, God bless his kind heart, you did grow up extremely quickly due to circumstances. Having to help raise your younger brothers, I guess.
That's the best way to put it, I suppose. And for me, having that mental maturity, I had a lot of time to self-reflect a lot. Because I'm being alone all the time and thinking to myself about other things and other problems I had. And it was just one of those things where I pushed myself to motivate little things. And
did you make yourself, you saw things as small goals?
In a way, yeah.
Like going to Tesco's and walking home and not feeling as anxious, that's a win, and then playing football, and then did it so was it like a small goal?
I think it was small goals as well as a combination of events that slowly, because a lot of the time I didn't realise my anxiety was improving until I was doing things and wow, I wouldn't usually do that.
I guess when we've been on nights out and stuff, and you've spoke to the DJ and you've spoke to other people,
little things like that,
things like what we won't talk about, but things that happen on nights out that improved confidence and things like that.
Yeah.
Things like that,
I mean, there's definitely things that didn't help, but I think it was little by little, and then things like the gym, focusing on improving my own body, so I didn't have such a bad image of myself.
Would you say that you got body dysmorphia? This is just me fucking throwing words out there, but because people think of body dysphoria. Dysmorphia. Yeah. I said it right the first time, and then my brain then went, you didn't say that right. Because we associate that with skinny people thinking, or normal weighted people thinking that they're heavier.
Yeah.
Did you see yourself as somebody that was, don't get me wrong, you were lean, but you weren't by any means anorexic. Mm-hmm. But did you see yourself as somebody that was quite lean? Did you see yourself as somebody that was skeletal?
To a point.
Then,
I think, even now, sometimes I'll go to the gym and I'll work out and I'll look at my body in the mirror and I'll see an angle. I'm like, wow, you can't you have those internal thoughts to go, fuck's sake, what am I looking at? You can't even. It's more of a subconscious thing, and that I think that's a whole to do with your own self-esteem. Things change. Sometimes you look in the mirror, and go, "Oh, yeah, I like it."
You have good days, and you have bad days.
You have good days and bad days, and I know that. And I do think sometimes I have a little. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say I have body dysmorphia, because people that definitely do. Probably I don't completely understand how they feel. No, I don't. The only reason I feel that way is I might have it sometimes is like the way I look at myself.
And not seeing the progress and not seeing the mass change. And
I just see a person that's still skinny Tyler, small arms, this, that, and whatever. And for the most part, I've still seen that. I've just learned to kind of trying to appreciate where I am at, where I am going, or where I have come, where I have gotten. To the point where I don't completely discredit anymore. Like when people say to me like, "Oh yeah, your arms are looking bigger," I don't go, "No, that's just bullshit." Like I try my best to empathise with that and go, "I appreciate it." I generally do, because I've spent a lot of my life, especially during school, or the most I'd hear when I try and get involved in things is like beanpole or praying mantis, stick insect, whatever.
The generics,
the generic stuff. And it was hard for me to feel like I even fit in with things like that. So I'm learning more to accept things like that. And when I do, like I have recently, from as I told you, for my girlfriend commented on that I've gained
mass,
gained mass, and my arms are looking bigger. And although there's that tape in the back of my head that goes, "No, it's not really the truth. She just hasn't seen you in a while." Blah blah blah. Like, I'm learning to go, well, thank you. Because although I may not believe it to fully myself, I still appreciate it massively.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of do I have body dysmorphia or not, I would say most likely no.
But you have.
But I have suspicion sometimes of the thoughts that come into my head around the way I see
myself. What were we talking about before that? I completely forgot what the fuck we were going on about.
We're still touching on anxiety and things like that. So anyway, enough about me. We've heard a lot now. So let's get into Dan. So if I was to ask you, if you to where you are now, how has your mental health been like from? So you're 22. So we'll say the last, I wouldn't say 10 years because 12 is a bit too young. So we'll start from like when you was like teenager, 14, 15, up to this point. How has your mental health changed and how has it affected you?
So I was pretty normal, in air quotations normal, up until probably 15.
Right.
And just one day there must be something to it. I am speaking to people / trying to speak to people. Mm-hmm. One day, this is how I remember it anyway. Mm-hmm. Just one day, I just woke up, and I don't know if it's because I have a thing about people talking behind my back. I've got a really big thing. I'd rather people just come and speak to me. But basically, one day at 15, I just woke up and I felt really shit.
Right.
Just felt really low.
Yeah. And
that continued for 6 months to a year, maybe. I know that's quite a big time, but it's a long time ago. Trying to think back.
Yeah.
I just remember waking up, and then like people started to realise that something had changed.
Yeah.
People were like, "Danny, you're right." And just to put into perspective, I quit football at the time.
Yeah.
And for people that know me, I've played football since I was 4. I've played at if it wasn't because of injuries, but I actually played at a very decent level.
Oh yeah, I can second that.
I played at a very good level, and and people still tell me to this day that I can make it. It's just I haven't got the attitude anymore, and I'll man them say that. But I quit playing football. My girlfriend at the time and I weren't really working out.
Mm-hmm.
I
just trying to think of who it was at that age.
CB.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm on track.
We weren't really working out, and I'd been mucked about previously, but basically it just sort of stemmed from there. I got a big thing about people talking behind my back. I still have that now. Just for a long time, just went down the spiral. Then sort of sixth form happened, and I then started playing football again at a lower level just to try to find the love for it again. Me and my brother got back in contact with each other, and we started hanging out a lot. His girlfriend left him, so I started seeing him more. That then basically broke my relationship down because I wanted to see my brother a lot.
Yeah.
My brother's 5 years older than me. He was my role model growing up. Looking back now, I always saw him as a role model. I always wanted to be like him. But looking back now, I've taken his best attributes. I'm not here to slag him off. I've just taken his best attributes and I've taken attributes from other people. So because he had given 6 years, 7 years of his life to his girlfriend and then they'd split up, he then wanted to start going out. So we did what brothers do. He let me use his ID. He would go in and then I'd get in and after him. We started going out all the time. I started drinking lots. So this is when I'm about 17, 18 now.
Yeah.
I developed a stutter to a certain degree that when I was really nervous, I couldn't speak. And it became a joke on nights out that Dan, who is me, speaking in third person, Dan has to have two double vodka and cokes before he can speak to anybody. Because I just couldn't. I remember there's a girl beginning with V. I remember she was one of my brother's friends. She just tried to have a conversation with me, and I couldn't speak to her. I stuttering, mumbling. I then went and had my 2 double vodka and cokes. I came back. I was confident, or felt confident. That then spiraled into a lot of drinking, and a lot of substances, shall we say?
Yeah. I mean, speaking from Dan's best friend, obviously I saw all these stages firsthand, and this is a stage where, not gonna lie,
people were actually very worried about me at this point.
Not gonna lie. Sometimes I did have to slap him up a bit figuratively, because obviously, best friend, we have to watch out for each other. And I saw him slipping down to this road where I was like, mate, if you keep going down this, you're gonna regret it later on. I know that. And I'm not gonna lie, I definitely believe you were influenced a lot because of it. It wasn't just your brother. It was your
there was a group
friends.
of us, and I was the youngest. So at the time when we all first met, I was 17.
Yeah.
/ turning 18. And the eldest was 28.
Yeah.
So there was a 28-year-old when I was 17, 26 and a 24-year-old, and then a 17-year-old me. I thought I was the dog's bollocks, hanging around with them, getting with girls, doing substances, drinking, Mr. Popular, some people would say. And
would you say your mental health was always not at a high, but like at a low point, but you're kind of mentally, you wanted to follow suit of your brother's path and the way your friends were going?
I would tell them on a regular that I needed to go speak to a doctor about being depressed, and they just told me that I wasn't depressed.
Yeah,
no. There was many times that in the group chat, I'd go, guys, I'm fucking losing it. I'm fucking losing it. I'm depressed, and they'd be like, no, you're not, Dan. You're just having a bad day. Come on, let's just go out for a beer. And they would come pick me up and we'd go for a beer. And
let's remember that point for when we go on to... Because I definitely want to talk about that.
So there'd be times where I'd literally be in the group chat begging for help. Yeah. And they'd be like, oh, let's just go for a beer. So then we'd go for a beer. And then it would spiral into not just one beer. It would be 6, 7, 8.
I think you took on their bad habits as well, because I think it was clear that they dealt with their own problems by drinking and substance abuse.
Don't get me wrong, my brother can't drink because he's got he's only got one kidney.
One kidney, yeah.
So his drinking is very tame to the others. My brother also became basically the designated driver for a lot of it.
Yeah. Because
he couldn't drink because obviously he was trying to look after his one kidney. But the other two influenced me majorly. One of them in one round of boxing probably had 3 or 4 drinks. So we had a boxing party at mine. You was there.
Yeah.
And in one round of boxing, I think he was having 4 buds.
Yeah, they were drinking.
To one round.
They were drinking. It was kind of... chain smoking. It's more like
He
chain
was like
drinking.
Like,
As soon as he finished one, he was drinking.
Anthony Joshua won that fight, I think, in like the 7th or 8th round, and he had probably easily had 20 buds to himself.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't good, and obviously 17, turning 18, he was very impressionable at that stage as well, and you kind of learnt to deal with your depression, your anxiety by making yourself feel better with the drinking.
Surrounding myself with people that were licking my own ass, basically.
And that obviously it boosted your ego, but in the wrong type of direction. Yeah. So instead of going, I'm confident in myself, it's like, I'm better than everyone else.
Yeah, basically.
Without your subconsciously, obviously, you're not a dick.
And then, just to put some things in the group, if I would go on a date with a girl, they would discourage that. They didn't want me to get with a girl. They wanted me to be a part of the boys, and I wasn't allowed to have one night away. So we used to meet up every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If I decided that on the Thursday or the Friday, it basically got to the point where I'd have to book in. If you want to go on a date with me, it has to be on a Thursday or Friday. It can't be a Saturday because the lads will get too mad at me. That's literally what it got to. Yeah,
it became an obsessive thing where it was all about partying. There was no rhyme or reason to it, but it got to the stage where it was affecting you in a bad way. Like you were being influenced to the point where when you go out, it's just drink, substance, blah, done, move on to the next, dun. More like a rinse and repeat type of thing.
Like, so I was living for the weekend, as now I don't. I live for every day. And then that meant, because I could never speak to them about any of my issues, it then made me not speak at all. Yeah, because I was literally telling them, I could probably scroll through my phone and find the group chat, and there is points where I'm going, I need fucking help, and they're like, no, you are fine, you are good, They meant it, I think, from a place of good. Yeah. I just think that
I think maybe they were the wrong people to confide in, but because you looked up to them, they were the people you wanted to reach out to. Don't
get me wrong, they're all so different now. We're all like 5 years down the line, and we are all so different. I'm in contact with one of them out of the group, on and off, and we do have good conversations. We have arranged for him to come to the house. We are still friends to a degree. Yeah. But because I confided in people that didn't actually want to help me at the time, it then meant that I just didn't speak to anybody. And then because I didn't speak to anybody, it then just got worse. Even when I stopped being friends with them, that lifestyle continued with my own group of friends. So then there was me, you, K, E. Yeah. There was like Uncle D. Yeah. Like there was a group of us that I fucked off them because they weren't good for me. And then I was almost recreating that environment for myself.
I remember. I mean, when my mental health wasn't even like the best. I remember you were very, very hell bent on let's go out and get pissed. Let's go out and get pissed all the time instead of like, and I could tell it was coming from that. It was like you followed on, like you said, you were almost recreating what you had and what you fucked your friends off for. Yeah. Because that's how you were used to it. It's like every weekend it was like, let's go do something like this. But instead of like, let's go paintballing, let's go this, it's like, no, I want to go out and drink, do this. The same thing before, and it's...
Yeah. And then I got with somebody. At the start it was good. And then they had their own issues that they hadn't dealt with. That then pushed me further into a bad state. Mm-hmm. I then had a car accident. This is me like very brief. I'm not going into detail. Yeah. I then had a car crash, and I couldn't really walk properly for just over a month. I had a month and a bit off work, and I couldn't really walk properly for 2 weeks.
You had some internal bleeding as well, didn't
you? Yeah, I had some internal bleeding. I had memory loss to a point where I'd start running a bath, forget it. I would turn on the hob, forget it. That then made me feel very shit because I didn't have a car. I couldn't drive anywhere, and I was stuck in what is now mine and Sarah's old house because we had just got together.
Yeah.
We were that then led to that. Then we had lockdown, what was actually a good thing for me.
I think you spoke on it before, how positive lockdown actually was.
Like, a lot of people see lockdown as a negative thing. It actually settled me and humbled me a lot, so I was more settled in my life. Then, because I'd never addressed any of my problems, I had a person that loved me, cared for me, wanted the best for me. It then brought out a lot of my emotions out of me, and I didn't know how to deal with them.
Well, especially they were kept in for a long time, so when you
were
pushed them
like
all down,
4 years worth
so it's
of
like
all coming out at once.
Yeah.
The other thing that really hurt, well, I still sit and cry about it today, is my nan passing away.
Oh yeah.
It was the first person that I'd ever lost, so
yeah,
that really hurt. And also, she wasn't ill. There was nothing wrong. Like, she just had what old people have, like, oh, I've got a water infection. Oh, my blood pressure's high. Like, what old, like, she was like 76, 77.
Generally what older people
like, she just had, like, normal old people stuff. And then, out of the blue, I just get a phone call and she's dead.
Yeah.
She had a heart attack, she's dead. That really affected me. I never really spoke about it. I dealt with it in my own way.
No,
I just kind of like, right, she's gone, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's just make sure everybody else is okay.
Yeah, I think that is definitely what you did, because I remember, although you spoke on it briefly, you never gave yourself a full chance to process.
No, I wanted to make sure, like, my mum was devastated by it, so I was trying to make sure my mum was okay. My sister was upset about it.
You can tell it. I could tell it came out in you, but instead of it was honest emotion and grieving.
Yeah,
grieving. It was like drinking a lot and things like that.
I started drinking more again. At the funeral, I was the person in my family that was the rock. I had my dad crying in one shoulder. I had both my sisters crying in the other one, and I was stood there. I was crying, but I was there. I was there. I had everybody around me. My mum was at the front with her brothers and my granddad. But with the people that I had around me, I was that person that was like, it's all right, we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
You know, me and my mum, we get on a lot better now. I'm backtracking because things are coming in my mind. My mum she had mental health issues that she never addressed. What that meant that environment at home wasn't particularly always great. She would say quite nasty things to me that still hurt to this day, but I know that it come from a place where she wasn't mentally in the right place. So I've told her that it's upset me, and I'm not going to keep bringing it up because I've told her that it upset me, and I could tell that it hurt her, that it hurt me.
Oh yeah, a lot of the time when they say these things, they don't actually realise what they've done to an extent.
And then my nan died, and then I started drinking more. Work was getting stressful. And then basically I just got to the point where I was sleeping all the time. So this was my routine. And this is what happened during my GCSEs, by as well. Like, you know, when I said, like, at 15, I just sort of woke up one day, didn't know what happened. I would wake up, go to school/work, because this is exactly what was happening in both scenarios. So I'd wake up, go to school/work. I'd get home, I'd go sleep. I'd wake up, eat something, go sleep. That was it. That was my life. My mum and dad, when I was younger, noticed that stuff was wrong and they tried to help, but ultimately they didn't know how to deal with it because like 8 years ago, mental health was still not nowhere near as well known as what it is now. So they were like, oh, he'll get better. Like, he's just going through bad times. And my dad, bless him, he would take me on car rides. He would try to talk to me. He would try to make me laugh. Yeah. But none of it ever helped. Then it happened again when I was 21, 20. Not looking after myself, not showering, not eating, not going to work on time, not like just sleeping all the time. Then I got, because of that lifestyle and other things that were going on, I got extremely suicidal to the point where I'd be laid in bed and I could just jump out this window head first and kill myself. I'd be driving home from work and be like, I could just pull my car into a tree, into an incoming lorry. I thought about jumping in front of trains, jumping in front of cars, and these were every day. Every day. Every time I got in the car, I'd think about putting it into a tree or putting it into a lorry. Every time that we was walking by a road, I thought about jumping in the car. Every time that we was near a train track, I thought about jumping in front of a train. I Googled and found a successful way of how to kill myself. I Googled it. I had everything there ready to do it. I had it there. And I was going to do it. I had everything in front of me. I was going to do it. And Sarah came home just in time. And she hugged me. She told me that she doesn't want me to go anywhere. She wants me. She loves me. She wants me to get better. And I was like, that was the day that it changed for me.
Oh yeah,
I didn't want to have Sarah worrying if she's 10 minutes late coming back from work that I'll be dead. I didn't want to keep on worrying people, and also I didn't like the way that I was living. It got to the point for me where that point there I'd scared myself because I was doing I was halfway through doing it. I was doing it. Sarah came home, rushes upstairs, finds me, consoles me. I was gonna do it, and that's a scary thought when you sit down and you think about it. It's a scary thought. So I then went to the doctors. Because of the severity of it, they put me on antidepressants straight away. On that day. Yeah. They were started off low and very quickly became the strongest antidepressants you can get. Yeah. And they also put me on ones that were mood stabilizers because they thought I may have some form of bipolar. And I was on them for 6 months. I was probably on them for about 3 to 4 months.
It was around that time. I would have said about
probably about
max about 5.
Yeah.
Would you say? To be fair, I didn't actually know you were going to go touch on that. I mean, I didn't know how much you were going to leave out,
fuck it.
Yeah. Okay. But would you say that going through that experience and scaring yourself, it gave you a newfound appreciation for life and the things you do have? And
I wake up every day and I'm happy to be alive. Every day. Every day I wake up and I just go, I'm still here.
Your whole outlook on things changed and everything. Yeah.
Everything, and it's weird that it took me to get to that point, but I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm happy to be alive. And when stuff gets really bad, I remind myself of it. Yeah. I go, I was down in the fucking trenches. How dare I moan that work was, I had to stay at work for 10 minutes longer. At least I have the opportunity. Or how, I just view life as a whole new lease of life. And I try to push that onto people.
Yeah. You found a whole new appreciation for things. Instead of going it was more pushed you into more of an optimistic view of things rather than going, this was shit, work was shit, you'd be like, at least I'm not there anymore. Yeah, I've came so far, at least I'm alive, at least I'm moving forward.
Sometimes I go that was bad, but I've still got 8 hours of the day.
Yeah.
That was bad, but I've still got 2 hours before I go to sleep. I always try to look at the positives, and if I'm having a bad day, I'll actively do something that will make me feel better. Yeah. So if I've had a shit day and I've sat on the sofa for an hour and I fucking can feel that I'm getting that bit of a mood on, I'll go up and I'll clean my office. Yeah. I'll get up and I'll hoover. I'll get up and I'll mop. I'll take the dog for a walk. I'll do something that will help me feel better.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
I still have bad days.
Everyone has. I don't think as anyone you can be as positive as ever. Everyone is going to have a day where it kind of knocks you down a peg, and you're like, right, okay. And sometimes all it takes is you just need to feel everything out. Yeah. Feel what's inside and then move on from it.
And this is one thing that I say to people, right, is I was a person that was against antidepressants, against going to the doctors. I'll get through it myself. Oh, I know me, I'll just make it. bollocks. There is nothing wrong with getting a helping hand.
Oh no, and it's the okay. Now we can move on to another point. How society's viewed mental health. So we're kind of falling onto this now. So like, it's sad.
FYI, sorry to bring everybody down.
No.
The absolute purest of trenches.
To be fair, it's actually more of a positive thing because it's basically look at him now.
I'm a big advocate for mental health. Yeah, massive advocate. Don't get me wrong. I am a person that is the shed alarm being an alarm. I am a person that is a mental health advocate, but I also am a realist to how this stuff works. We talk about stuff a lot more, so therefore there is going to be more people that are diagnosed with it because naturally people more talk about it. They go, oh, bloody hell, I'll get like that, and then this. However, there is a fine line where we can take it too far. And it's like with everything, like feminism at the minute, arguably, is a step too extreme. Because because this is the way that society works. It's like slavery. Let's go about something that is something I can talk about because I'm not a girl and I don't want to get cancelled. But let's say slavery. We had it.
Yeah. Then
we abolished it. Then we tried to swing too far the other way, where we're like, we should get rid of all of the statues and we should let's erase. No. This shit happened. Let's talk about it. Let's find a happy medium.
But I think as well, we've gone way off.
Yeah, but society is very reactive. We are never proactive to everything, and because we are reactive, we go. We want you to feel as safe and as happy as possible, so we'll go to this extreme, and then we go. Actually, we've gone a bit too extreme. Let's tone it down a little bit. And at the moment, with mental health, we never spoke about it enough. Arguably, we maybe talk about it too much with a generation where. With a generation that, what do I want to say? If we speak about it with children that are so young, that we can maybe influence.
They're too impressionable.
We can make them feel like they've got. This is what I mean by like, oh, you feel anxious about your exams, and then they feel like they've got anxiety. You're allowed to feel anxious about stuff, blah blah blah. And this is what I mean. Like, I think at the minute, mental health is getting better as a whole. Men's mental health is still underspoke about.
Yeah.
I think mental health as a whole is improved, but when you break it down into subcategories, I think that there's still things that could be improved.
Yeah, I mean, and I think one thing for our generation, what I want to speak about is little things like men and women. People think that if you need to talk about things with people, if you need help, it makes you weak.
Yeah.
It was such a thing that we'd grown up thinking about.
It's subconscious things like...
It was such a...
Don't cry like a little girl. Little things like that made us feel... It made masculinity...
almost fake. You had to have a fake standard of being... masculine. You have no emotions, you're strong... You're got firm. You don't cry. Things like that. Even and I think that falls on the way the generations work because even our parents, not so much. They did have almost from their upbringing that type of mentality of you don't need to cry about that, this, and that, and it influences.
But society is fucked, and people are going to laugh at us. But Andrew Tate and Sneeko and Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah, Jordan Peterson, absolutely.
They talk about very controversial things within male society, and they are hated on about it. But actually, don't get me wrong, and I'm saying this with all honesty, a lot of the shit that they say is bollocks.
Especially from certain people, yeah.
From certain people. But some of the things that they talk about are true. So females will say, I want my boyfriend to be open with his feelings. That is great, because Sarah appreciates my feelings. But also, at the same breath, if the first time that you met a bloke and they cried, you probably wouldn't go on a second date with them. But you want them to be... You want them to be open with their emotions, and then if we show too much emotion, it's bad.
To a lot of
That's me generalising.
Generalising, we're not saying everyone.
I'm generalising,
But fair point. Also, a little bit sidetracked because we're getting less off the mental health and more into other. Dan seems to be branching into all the other topics we have for the podcast.
I know.
You're kind of covering everything in one big one. So I'm just going to try and lean you back into the right topic.
Yeah.
So society, we spoke on that. I think we take it seriously. There is extremes to things. I think there'll be extremes to everything.
There's an extreme to absolutely everything.
Especially with the whole news thing, because news doesn't get approached unless you go to that extreme where everyone knows about it. And I think that's why you have like groups that will really hammer in and find the negative in stuff and blow it out to proportion to make it open to everybody, and then it get captured on the news. I'm not saying everything, but as a generalisation. But mental health, I agree with you. It's improving. It's being noticed more how it should, but still things like for my I know that at jobs and things like that, I still know if you're suffering mentally with something, it's still not going to be taken anywhere near as seriously as like a physical sickness or something.
No, you are right. Oh, you're mentally feeling shit today? Well, you can still type on that computer.
I think I know a main reason for that, and I think it's a main reason mental health was so overlooked. Because it's invisible.
Yeah, and I also think
see it.
And unfortunately, because of mental health being invisible and you can't see it, some people would take advantage of that and they ruin it for everybody. So you're at work,
I agree with
I feel mentally shit today, I want to have a day off. Or is it something, I have a cold. You'd have a day off for a cold, feeling bad, you're less likely to have it. But then you'll have people that might not suffer, that will use that excuse to abuse it. And then therefore you then get people who do suffer majorly, who then don't get the right help and support that they get.
I do think, but like I said, I think it's a large proportion of because it's not noticeable, because you can't, and one thing, and which is why mental health is so dangerous in terms of going unnoticed, is people develop their own coping mechanisms to the point where you can't even notice they're feeling as bad as they're feeling.
That stopped recording.
When?
Just then.
Why?
I don't know.
Has it got a limit on it?
No.
Battery?
I wouldn't have thought so, but maybe. Shall we quickly wrap up?
Let's wrap up. Our main camera, in case you guys don't know, just cut off, and we're just trying to suss out why. But as a whole, me and Dan, very big pros of mental health. We suffer ourselves. We've let you in a little bit to what we have gone throughout our own lives. Obviously, not everything. You don't need to know everything about everybody because, but
thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to us.
There will be links in the description if you need for help. Our Instagrams are open, our Facebooks are open if you ever somehow find them. But the main Mason Productions page, if you want to message on there, please do, and we can link you to our socials. If you are somebody that we know who is struggling, please reach out. Also, it sometimes helps reaching out to people that aren't involved in a situation. But please reach out. Please go seek help. There is nothing wrong with finding help. We'd much rather you be here than going to your funeral. And, we have got some loved ones that have passed away through suicide. So,
and everyone needs to understand that being honest, letting people in as hard as it can be, when you find that right person it will make you stronger in the long run. You might feel weak, you might feel embarrassed, you might feel like they're going to judge you, but I promise a lot of the time, not saying everybody, because like we've said in this podcast, not everyone can deal with mental health and support people that are going through stuff, but when you find the right people to talk to, and there definitely is for everyone out there, you will slowly progress into someone you want to be.
Remember, take the small steps, they became bigger wins. So, it's been your boys from Mason Productions, it's been Dan and...
It's been Tyler.
And thank you very much, and
take care.
Peace out.